In the darkness of a New Zealand forest, a kiwi searches for food. For 80 million years, this ancient bird evolved without fear. No prowling predators stalked these islands, no sharp teeth waited in the shadows, not anymore. This is the story of paradise invaded, of well-meaning mistakes that became ecological catastrophes, and of a nation's desperate race to undo 2 centuries of destruction before it's too late. 80 million years ago, New Zealand broke away from the ancient supercontinent Gondwana and drifted into the Pacific Ocean. Cut off from the rest of the world, life here took a radically different path. Without land-based predators, birds abandoned flight. The kakapo became the world's heaviest parrot, waddling through forests on foot. The kiwi evolved nostrils at the tip of its beak and laid eggs that are, proportionally, the largest of any bird on Earth. Giant insects the size of mice roamed the forest floor. Birds nested on the ground without fear. It was a world unlike any other. Then, around the 13th century, the first humans arrived. Polynesian voyagers brought with them the kiore, the Pacific rat. This small rodent began eating bird eggs, lizards, and insects. Several bird species vanished within centuries. But the real catastrophe began in the 1800s when European settlers arrived with grand plans to make New Zealand feel like home. They brought rabbits for food and sport, possums for the fur trade. And when those introductions spiraled out of control, they made their most devastating decision yet: to control the exploding rabbit population. Between 1883 and 1892, thousands of stoats and weasels were shipped from Britain. Tens of thousands of ferrets were bred locally and released across the countryside. The scientists warned them. Ornithologists predicted disaster for native birds. But the warnings were ignored. Today, there are an estimated 30 million possums in New Zealand. 30 million. In a country with a human population of only 5 million, possums outnumber people 6 to 1. Originally from Australia, where they're protected as a native species, here they've become the country's most damaging pest. Each night, they consume vast quantities of vegetation, destroying favorite native trees like rata and kamahi. They eat bird eggs, chicks, and even adult birds. They occupy tree hollows that native birds need for nesting, and they spread bovine tuberculosis to cattle, costing the agricultural industry tens of millions of dollars. But the possums are not the worst. The Department of Conservation calls stoats public enemy number 1. Described as having only 2 reasons for living, to eat and to reproduce, these relentless hunters have devastated New Zealand's bird populations. In some areas, stoats kill up to 60% of kiwi chicks. Researchers using hidden cameras have watched in horror as stoats repeatedly visit kiwi burrows, waiting patiently for eggs to hatch before attacking the helpless chicks. It gets worse. During mast years, when beech trees produce massive seed crops, mice populations explode. This abundance of prey causes stoat populations to surge. Months later, when the seeds are gone and mice populations crash, armies of hungry stoats turn their attention to native birds. The results are catastrophic. In 2006 and 2007, the endangered takahe population dropped by a third after a stoat plague triggered by a beech mast event. 3 species of rats now infest New Zealand. The kiori arrived first with the Maori. Then came the Norway rat in the late 1700s with European explorers, and the ship rat after the 1860s. Ship rats are the most devastating. They live in all types of forests from coast to tree line. In 1962, ship rats invaded Big South Cape Island. Within 3 years, 9 bird species had declined or disappeared, including the South Island saddleback and the Stead's bush wren. Even animals most people consider harmless have become killers here. European hedgehogs, introduced in the 1870s to control garden pests, are now major predators of ground-nesting birds. On braided riverbeds, they feast on the eggs and chicks of endangered species like banded dotterels and black-fronted terns. One hedgehog can cause an entire colony of critically endangered birds to abandon their nests. Feral cats roam from coastlines to alpine zones, some males in the high country weigh up to 8 kilograms, nearly twice the size of a house cat. Scientists have tracked feral cats covering 6 kilometers in a single night, hunting native birds, bats, lizards, and insects. The toll is staggering. At least 25 million bird eggs and chicks are consumed by introduced predators every year. More than 3,000 native species are now threatened or at risk of extinction. The kakapo, that ancient flightless parrot, has been reduced to around 200 individuals. In areas where stoats are active, 95% of kiwi chicks don't survive to adulthood. But New Zealand is not giving up without a fight. In 2016, then Prime Minister John Key announced what he called the most ambitious conservation project attempted anywhere in the world, Predator-Free 2050. The goal? Completely eradicate rats, stoats, ferrets, weasels, and possums from the entire country by 2050. Since the announcement, 19 landscape-scale predator elimination projects have launched across the country. Over 110 uninhabited islands are now predator-free. The results on cleared islands are remarkable. On islands where rats and stoats have been eliminated, native bird populations have rebounded dramatically. Species on the brink of extinction are breeding successfully again. In Wellington, the Miramar Peninsula has been officially free of stoats, weasels, and both Norway and ship rats for over a year. Proof that eradication is possible even in urban areas. The methods are evolving. Self-resetting traps that can kill hundreds of predators before needing maintenance. Detection dogs that can sniff out a single rat on an island. Advanced genetic research exploring biocontrol options. But technology alone won't win this war. Over 2,000 community groups across New Zealand are now involved in predator control. Families check trap lines in their backyards. School children monitor tracking tunnels in local parks. Iwi Maori lead landscape-scale projects on traditional lands. The program continues to evolve. In November 2025, the government added feral cats to the official target list, acknowledging their devastating impact on native species. Yet massive challenges remain. New Zealand's main islands are each over 100 times larger than the world's largest area, successfully cleared of rats. No one has ever attempted eradication at this scale. Scientists are frank. Achieving predator-free 2050 will require breakthrough technologies that don't yet exist. Today, in protected areas where predators have been eliminated, some sounds haven't been heard for generations. The songs of birds thought lost forever. The scuttle of giant weta emerging at night, the distinctive call of a kiwi searching for food without fear. New Zealand's invasive species crisis began with good intentions, settlers trying to recreate home, farmers trying to protect their livelihoods. Each introduction seemed reasonable at the time. But in ecology, there are no simple solutions. Every action ripples through ecosystems in ways we cannot predict. 4,000 native species found nowhere else on Earth hang in the balance. Species that evolved over 80 million years could vanish in our lifetime. The question now is whether a modern nation can undo the damage of the past, whether community action and scientific innovation can turn the tide, whether New Zealand can become once again a paradise for the creatures that call it home. The battle is far from over, but for the first time in 2 centuries, there is hope. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever visited New Zealand or seen any of these conservation efforts in action? Or maybe you live somewhere else dealing with invasive species problems of your own. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.